Well, it's time for the other view. Want to get to this story out of Canada, where a male powerlifter was so fed up with his country's self-ID laws that he entered himself in a female competition. Avi Silverberg told officials that he identified as a female and then proceeded to break the country's bench press record for women. You can see him right there, gearing up, 270 pounds. Now get this, that record was set by a trans lifter. So joining us now to discuss, my head's already spinning, is our panel, former Assistant Press Secretary for President Trump and Newsmax contributor Karoline Leavitt, and Deputy Managing Editor for Red State and author of Drawing Lines, Why Conservatives Must Begin to Battle Fiercely in the Area of Ideas, Kira Davis. Kira, I'm going to start with you here. So the gist was, there was a guy who just said these self-ID laws, which say that basically anyone can identify as whatever sex they want, whether it's biological or not, specifically in Canada, without having to have a psychiatric evaluation. They can just say, I am officially X or Y or maybe Z. And so he said, this is ridiculous. So he just signed up for this competition and said, yeah, I identify as a woman, and then blew everyone's numbers out of the water. Kira, I mean, he was proving a point, but do you think the point will be heard?
Yeah, I do believe the point will be heard because, as you just said, the whole thing is ridiculous. And he pointed out with his actions how ridiculous it was. And I think that this is what we're going to have to see more of. I've been complaining for a while that men aren't stepping up enough to combat this. They're leaving this to women to do. And really, a lot of this trans movement insanity is led by men. It's led by toxic masculinity. So a lot of times you have to realize men are asking women to stand up to toxic masculinity. So here's the guy that said, okay, you know, I'm going to prove the absurdity of this. And unfortunately, it is going to take, I believe, more things like this, more actions like this to point out the absurdity of these laws, especially when they're self-ID. We have the same issue here in California where you can just, you know, say it and then it is. And no functioning society can thrive like that. So it's going to take more men like that, and then more women saying, you know what, I'm not even going to bother to participate in this charade. And what needs to happen is things need to fall apart before they can get built up, I'm afraid.
Karoline, lots of feminists are saying, okay, I have nothing against people being trans, identifying however they want to identify, but when you start to allow people to encroach on female sports, female activities, things that women, biological women, have fought for equality and for so long, they're saying this actually undermines it.
Yeah, of course it does. And it's absolute lunacy that we live in a world in which these things are allowed to occur. And I actually appreciate this gentleman in the bodybuilder competition in Canada for proving how insane that point is. He absolutely demolished the women's record. And then the top record was what? A trans man. It was a biological man who just smoked all of these other girls, putting up hundreds more pounds. Of course he is, because men have a physical advantage to women. It's been that way since the beginning of time. That is an objective truth and a fact. And it doesn't make us less of a woman to admit that. What it makes us is equal and equal to these men. That's why laws like Title IX were passed decades ago to champion female athletics, female private spaces such as locker rooms and bathrooms at colleges and universities and public spaces across this country. Now we're just having that violated in plain sight. It's so infuriating. It's a potential violation of federal law, and nobody has the courage to do anything about it. As a former athlete myself, this frustrates me so much because I know how much effort and hard work and grit it takes young women to get to that next level, to compete. And then you have men just absolutely wiping away their dreams, and it's allowed to occur. So I think most Americans see the absurdity of this, but they lack the courage to speak up because they don't want to offend people.
Sure, great point. Great point. Except for this power lifter in Canada, we encourage more gentlemen. That's the right word to use, Karoline. We hope more of them step up and show how silly this actually is. All right, Karoline Leavitt, Kira Davis, thanks for joining us on The Other View.